We're going to get started this afternoon. Thank you guys so much for joining us for our February 2023 VRM Insider webinar. I am Andrea Valenzuela. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm the general manager over VRM, and I'm so excited for you guys to join us this month. We have such an amazing guest today with us, and I'm so excited because this is a topic and solution product that I am super excited about, and I love to learn more about it as we go. We newly have a solution within our VRM system that integrates, that it is able to provide all of our customers revenue management solutions. And so if that's something that's important to you, making sure that your rates are set appropriately, that you're able to look at comparables and really beat out your competitors, then this solution is going to be really exciting for you guys to see today. And I have Maureen Schilling on the call with us today, and I'm really going to kick it to her and have her share all the amazing stuff that we have to offer. And then in the end, we're going to do a Q&A. So I hope that if you guys have any questions, anything that you want to talk about as far as your business in particular, please feel free to write it down while we're on the call, and then we can put them in the chat at the end, and we can do a live Q&A for you guys. And then if you don't want to do that here on the call today, then you can reach out to us separately and we can actually schedule a call with you directly. So from here, I'm going to kick it to Maureen. Welcome, Maureen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for having me. It's great to be here. So my name is Maureen Schilling. I'm the Director of Client Services with RevMax, and I'm actually one of the co-founders along with Desiree Garcia. So RevMax was created as a full-service revenue management system. So what that means is that we're going to be a little different than some of the other solutions that are out there in the marketplace. We're going to be more of a comprehensive solution, something that leans more towards being comparable to, if any of you have ever worked in the hotel industry, some of the advanced tools that they have in the hotel industry. Desiree came from Marriott and I came from Hilton, both of us in revenue management. I've been doing revenue management for over 20 years. Desiree is right behind me in that number of years. So it's our passion. It's something we've worked on for a very long time, and we're really excited to bring this full service solution to you all. So let's get started. All right, so what we'll talk about today is what is a revenue management system? Why use a revenue management system? What are the benefits going to be for me? Then what revenue management solutions are available through RevMax? We're just going to touch on the highlights of some of the most key parts of the system so you can get a feeling of what they are and start thinking about how they could save you time and how they could help your company to increase its revenue and to provide higher value to your owners. Revenue management, we know, as we've gotten into a place where there are more investors coming into the marketplace, we oftentimes are hearing more people say, wow, you know, I actually have owners asking me, do I use a revenue management solution? We're going to learn about the tools, and then we're going to talk about how you get started. We'll take a little live drive in the system too, so you can see what it feels like in real life. We'll discuss what onboarding looks like. So if I choose to do this, what does that look like for me as far as onboarding? And then what do support options look like for me? Because not everybody has people on their team that they can dedicate time to the processes of revenue management. So sometimes support for a client looks like adding additional people to their team, training up a team member that has a natural inclination for analytics and for data, and that this may be something that they're good at, that they can add to their tasks on a weekly basis. So what does that look like, and how does RevMax provide solutions for support? Okay, so what is RevMax? RevMax is a complete revenue management solution. We call them RMSs, revenue management software, so revenue management services. It's designed specifically for the vacation rental industry. So it's been completely customized to work perfectly with vacation rental inventory. We have the software. We also offer advanced data analytic reporting. We have educational classes. So if you're just getting started, this is your first time really doing revenue management or working with any kind of revenue management tool, and you just need the training to get you started, or team member training, we have that. We also have full service revenue management. So somebody that you can add to your team that is a shared resource across multiple different non-competing companies, who can provide you with a small number of hours every single week dedicated to your company to do the processes of revenue management. And then also we have, of course, the ticket support system, where we have revenue management specialists on staff who can answer any questions you might have or point you in the right direction. So why use a revenue management system? Why do people do this? So let's start at the beginning. The very first thing that every revenue management solution should provide is the reporting. So the reporting is going to help you to identify what your need dates are. So where are my holes in my occupancy? What dates do I need to fill? How am I doing in comparison to last year? And then what properties are my lowest performers? Which properties are my highest performers? Identifying properties that maybe there's opportunity to increase their rates because they're always busy and they're not really feeling pricing pressure, versus properties where they really are struggling to get going and they need to have their rates addressed. How do I figure out that information, and how do I use it in order to make decisions that are going to help my company be more productive? Then a tool should have a method for dynamically pricing inventory based upon supply and demand. So most companies are coming off of a fixed rate type of system, which just operates off of, during my low season, this is going to be my rate. During high season, this is my rate. Maybe you have, some differences between weekends and weekdays. The system is going to allow you to select a dynamic pricing solution, and we have several of them to choose from that you can connect your inventory to, and you can let it sense the demand in the marketplace, and then create pricing strategies that will make sure that your inventory is selling. The solution will also help fill gaps. So if you have longer lengths of stay and all of a sudden a gap opens up in between two booked reservations, what do we do with that? Well, you can program the system to automatically open it up based upon parameters that you set. And then automate length of stay changes. You're not going to be able to watch it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What am I doing next week? What am I doing the week after? You're just not going to have the time to do that. But you know what you would want to do in certain scenarios. If my inventory is sitting empty and I'm 2 weeks out, what would I want to happen with that empty inventory? What would I want to happen 7 days in advance? What would I want to happen 3 days in advance? All of those things that you would want, all those changes that you would want to do anyway, all of that can be programmed into the system, and we allow you to do that with RevMax. Okay, and then something that's really, especially with the investors getting into the marketplace, something that we find a lot of people are asking for are pro formas. So somebody coming to you saying, hey, I'm looking for a property management company. I'm going to buy maybe 2 or 3 properties in this market. Can you tell me what my properties would rent for, or how much they could earn if I have a 2-bedroom in the marketplace, a 3-bedroom in the marketplace, a 4-bedroom in the marketplace? So being able to create pro formas that are quick for you, and to be able to see the individual properties that pro forma is basing the evaluation off of. And then owner reporting. So if owners come to you and they say, hey, how is my property doing, where you can very quickly get a report together that would be appropriate to deliver to the owner. The whole goal of the revenue management system is to automate the things that you would do in order to save you time. And you automate it once, you program it once in the system, you put in your rules, and then it works over and over and over again while you sleep. The goal is to drive more revenue over time. And how do we know that it works? Well, revenue management tools, we've seen people that go from using nothing to then implementing something. And just by implementing something after not having a solution, they get a 15 to 20% increase. It's just like, it's like year over year, that's normally what we see. Now, we know we're in unique market conditions in comparison to prior year and the year prior, because we're coming off of a pandemic where the vacation rental industry saw its largest amount of adoption ever in its history. So there are market adjustments that are going on there. But when compared with 2019 revenues and occupancies, we can see that it really matters. So even going back to pre-pandemic, benchmarking off of last year, these are the returns that people are seeing, is the high revenue growth. And they're able to put the system into play and automate it so that it's not taking a ton of time out of their weekly schedule. Okay, so what revenue management solutions are available through RevMax? Let's walk through a few of them. KPI dashboard. So KPIs are your key performance indicators. And these are the metrics that we use in order to gauge whether or not we're performing well. So when you get into RevMax, you'll have a high-level dashboard that will give you these key performance indicators that you can glance at on a daily basis, every couple of days, once a week, however frequently you would like to. And it's going to tell you how you're doing year over year in overall company revenue. It's going to show you by month how you're doing. It's going to show you your paid occupancy in comparison to prior year. Am I renting a larger percentage of my inventory that I have available to rent than I was prior year during the same time? It's going to show you your RevPAR, which is revenue per available unit. So that's taking your revenue and dividing it by how many nights you had available to rent. And it's the truest indicator of performance year over year, because inventory can change, right? One year we can have, 8 units, and the next year we can have 28 properties that we're renting. And so just saying revenue, well, of course my revenue would be higher because I have more properties. But if you look at RevPAR, how did I do across all of my opportunities to rent? That's going to be your true indicator. So we give you the RevPAR KPI, very important. ADR, how's my ADR doing? Is it going up? Is it staying about the same year over year? It's going to give you a list of underperforming properties within that month. Which properties need my attention? And are there any surprises in that? Or are there maybe some things that I keep seeing that property pop up month after month, and I really need to talk to that owner about doing those upgrades that the owner needs to do? Distribution success. So where are my reservations coming from? And am I getting the revenue from the sources where I'd expect to get the revenue from, or are there some surprises in there? Am I seeing declines in verbal bookings? Am I seeing declines in direct reservations? Like what's happening with my distribution? Then we have what's called a tape chart. So it's going to take your rates that you have set up in VRM, and it's going to pull them over into RevMax, and it's going to put them into a chart. And it's going to have by day for each property, what is my rate and what is my length of stay? And then within that chart, you can make modifications to your length of stay that would only affect one day out of an entire period, or a couple of days. So instead of having the same length of stay for every single day, you may say, there's a Tuesday, Wednesday in there, and I'm pretty sure that 3-night, that's going to be too high. I'd happily take a 2-night stay because they're a midweek and I know demand is really low. So you can do that on the tape chart by day. You can also automate reductions in length of stay. So we're gonna take a look at what that is inside the system. It's called dynamic minimal night. So this is that, what would I do anyway 7 days out? Would I want to keep that 7-night requirement, or would I want to talk to the owner about, hey, let me be flexible on here if we get within a certain number of days, and then have the system set up automatically to do those changes. Okay, And then automate the opening of gaps in between two booked reservations so that you're not constantly having to look at what reservations do I have 6 months from now, and is there a 2-night gap out there or a 3-night gap out there? Just tell the system, these are my parameters. If there's a gap, do this. And then the system will just do that while you sleep. Okay. Then stay controls, and this is really important. I found a lot of people like this from a housekeeping perspective. You have the ability to do what's called close to arrival, close to departure, stay throughs, and then you can do managed turn days like a Saturday to Saturday, which you do have that in your VRM system. You can also do it creatively in the RevMax system. So close to arrivals mean that you can still take a stay through for that day, but you're going to close it for anybody who wants to arrive on that day. Close to departure is the same thing, only with departures. So I want to take a stay through for that day. I'm not going to close that day off, but I can't have anybody else departing. And this is really important for during your peak season. If your housekeeping staff is limited and they've reached their limit of how many turns that they can complete on one day. Heck, I still want it to sell, but I just can't do another turn. I don't have the team members to do it. You can just click on a close to arrival and close to departure on that day, and it will still allow reservations to flow through. So anybody arriving before then or departing after then, they can still stay through that night, but they can't arrive on that night or depart on that night, which would put that extra stress on your team. So it allows you to continue to book and manage your operations at the same time. Stay through means, let's say you're going from a low period. Let's say Christmas is a high period. And let's say your nightly minimum over Christmas is 4 nights or 5 nights. But earlier in December, you'd be happy with a 2-night stay. Just if they're coming in and they're staying 2 nights, that's totally fine for you because maybe it's not as high demand. But you don't want anybody messing up that Christmas stay pattern because you can get a full 4-night stay. Well, applying the ST, the stay through requirement, says that if anybody is touching that Christmas time frame that has that higher stay through or has that higher nightly minimum, they have to abide by that 4-night minimum. So it's not going to let somebody come in, just stay 2 nights and mess up that time frame. And then manage turn days like Saturday to Saturday. So on the example that's on the screen, you can see that you have your Saturday, the June 10th, and your Saturday, the 17th. Do not have the CTA. They do not have the CTA-DD applied, the close to arrival or close to departure, but the midweek does. So this is how RevMax allows you to control for you can arrive on that Saturday. You cannot depart on any of those other days because they have CTD applied, but you can depart on the following Saturday. However, if you get within 3 weeks of arrival and there's still a 7-night minimum on there and that property is a little harder to sell under normal conditions and it's still sitting empty, what would I want to do? Well, you can come in here and say, you know what, they still have to arrive on the Saturday because I don't want them messing up the next week. But heck, I'll take off that CTD on that Friday and I'll take off that CTD on the Thursday and I'll let them just stay for 5 nights. Or I'll just let them stay for 6 nights if they'd like to. That way, if somebody's going on to Verbo or they're going onto your website and they're saying, do you have anything for 5 nights? I can only get away for 5 nights with my family. This gives them an option where they wouldn't otherwise have one. So this allows you to have that available for them while still maintaining the Saturday to Saturday for everybody else. Okay, now let's get into dynamic pricing. So dynamic pricing is using supply and demand in order to modify your rates so that they become more appealing to customers. And there are parameters that you can set for that. Our number one favorite dynamic pricing method is going to be called Max Shield. And Max Shield allows you to take your inventory and say, if my inventory isn't at least X% full by a certain date, start reducing my rates. Well, how much do I want to reduce my rates for? Well, I want them to come down by 5%, or I want them to come down by 10%. And if I get within only like 7 days prior to arrival, I want them to come down even more. But you may say, well, I don't want that for all of my inventory. That's okay for most of it. But this other inventory, I want them to operate a little differently. Maybe they're larger homes, maybe they're luxury, and they need special rules. You can absolutely separate them out. So one set of inventory follows one set of rules, and another set of inventory follows another set of rules. And the rules are defined by you. So you can have them be flexible and you can modify them at any period of time. So that is called Max Shield, where I'm a certain number of days out, maybe it's 14 or 21, and my inventory hasn't gotten to about 50% sold. So what do I want that to do? So within 21 days on this graph, you would take the rates down, or the rates would automatically reduce by 3%. If they're still not sold 14 days in advance, past the 50% mark, rates would come down by 5, then by 8. All of these fields are customizable. So if you say, well, heck, if that's not sold by 21 days out, I want a 10% off right away, we can completely set that up for you. It's very modifiable, really super, super easy to use. Max Shield. Okay. The next most popular is called comp set pricing. So we have partnered with a company called Transparent, and Transparent has the ability to access rates by night for individual homes. And we can create custom groups that say, for my 2-bedroom inventory, I want to hand select the other 2 bedrooms in the marketplace that are just like mine, because I don't want my 2 bedrooms to follow all the 2 bedrooms rates. I want them only to follow these specific ones that are in this specific tower on this specific, oceanfront, or one block back from the beach, or whatever the specific parameters are that you're going to know. You can hand select a grouping of that inventory and say, okay, I want to tether my 2-bedroom rates to the rates that those properties are charging, so that if they drop their rates, mine are going to follow. If they increase their rates, mine are going to follow. And we also have an additional layer on top of that that says, but if it's over this period of time, I want it to behave a little differently. So you could say, but during my low season, I want to follow the comp set, but I want it to always be 10% below. The rest of the time, I'm going to match them. I'm going to match the comp set. But during my off season, I always want to ride 10% below. You can do that. You set up the parameters, link the properties in the system, and then the property automatically makes those rate adjustments for you. And you can set it up year after year and make modifications how you would like to. So you're only having to touch the pricing parameters maybe once a year, maybe twice a year if you have some new inventory you want to add to it. And then the third method, which is called market pricing. So market pricing is where you just allow the system to assign you comp sets in the marketplace. So you say, okay, I'm going to allow the system to reach out there and select competing properties that have similarities to my properties. They're 2 bedrooms, they're in the zip code, they have these amenities. And then I'm going to follow a larger piece of the market. So instead of maybe following 15 homes in your sub comp set, in your comp set pricing, maybe you're going to let all, 7,500 homes that are similar to yours in the marketplace be part of your larger market. And then you're going to allow your rates to use an algorithm in order to modify so that they are following those market rates. Now, question I get a lot is, Maureen, can we use, I want comp set pricing for part of my inventory, and then I want market-based pricing for another piece of my inventory. But you know what? I have luxury homes, and there's no comparisons in the marketplace for them. So I'm going to use Max Shield because I need to define some of the rules for that property, but I still want it to dynamically price, because if I'm within 30 days of arrival and it doesn't have a booking, I would want to take down those rates anyway. So if I can just pre-program that in the system, that's great. Can I use comp set pricing for some of my properties, market-based pricing for others, and then put Max Shield on for my luxury homes? And the answer is yes. You can use any one of these that you would like for any portion of your inventory, because not all inventory is the same. And we know that you can't just say, well, all of it's going to follow the market, because that might work for 10, 15% of your inventory, but it's not as accurate for the other parts of your inventory. So we do allow you to pick and choose how you would like to use that. All right, automating minimum night changes. This is a fan favorite. Everybody loves this. This is called dynamic minimal nights, and this is how it works. You're going to create a set of rules that says for these homes, and you get to select which homes in your portfolio. I want this one, this one, this one to follow these rules. If I get within the summertime, if I get within 14 days of arrival, I want my 7-night minimum to change to 4. If I get within 3 nights of arrival, I want that 4-night to change to 3. However you want it to do. And you can create a ladder by which the minimums come down. So let's say it's Thanksgiving week and you're going to start at 7-night minimum. 7-night minimum for Thanksgiving week. But if I get within 30 days out and the properties are still available, I'm going to switch that to 5. So now I have a 5-night minimum for Thanksgiving. Well, now we're within, 14 days. What do I want to happen? Well, now it's going to move down to 4. Within 7 days, if I have anything left, I'm going to take 3. So you can stair step that down. Just put those rules into effect, and those rules will just keep going and go by themselves until the rule has been satisfied. And that can be programmed just once a year. What I tell most people is oftentimes people have at least one shoulder season when things are quiet. That's when most of these rules will be created in your system. Just once a year, you're going to sit down and you're going to say, this is my checklist. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And I'm just going to go in the system and create all my rules for the coming year and put them in there. Okay. So analyzing performance. So as we're using these tools, we need a way to measure, are they working for me? Are they giving me the results that I need? Are there any red flags? Do I have any areas where I really need to address them? So we have the advanced data analytic reporting. We have first off sales pace. Sales pace is going to be where you look backward at your sales for a period, meaning let me look at how many bookings I took in the past 7 days. Maybe you said that once a week, you're going to look at all of this data. What were my bookings for the past 7 days? And where did those bookings come into? Those are questions that you would want to ask. And how did they compare to last year? Did I sell as much as last year? How did I do in transactions? How did I do in overall revenue? Because both of those two things matter. And then where did that revenue come into? Did it come into the time frame where I'm needing them? Are there any surprises as to where those bookings are coming into? Then the monthly revenue pace. The monthly revenue pace is going to say, well, I'm not interested in when they were sold. They could have been sold at any point in the past, but I want to know, what do I have on the books for every month for the next 12 months? What do I have on the books for, November at this time, October? How much revenue do I currently have, and how does that compare to where I was at this same time last year? Do I have more or do I have less? You can also look at that monthly revenue pace by property as well. It's going to show you, how is that property doing for November versus last November? And do I have anybody who they are starting to show that they have needs that now that I have this information, I can get ahead of. Whereas before, I'd be running to catch up last minute. Oh gosh, this property is unbooked for 14 days prior to arrival. And now I have to think about how I'm going to fill it. Instead of, having that scenario, programming all these things and having the reporting to be able to see it ahead of time is going to help you to know where you need to make changes or adjustments or what you need to market. If you have properties that are, underperforming for the next 30 days, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to drop a piece of marketing material or I'm going to put something on social media, and these are the properties I'm going to focus on. The owner will see that I'm focusing on their properties, so they'll know that I am paying attention to their home. And it's going to give these properties an opportunity to get in front of people when they're at their moment of either doing their research or trying to actually create a reservation. So that's going to give confidence to that booking window report. So this is something that this year, everybody wants to look at their booking window reports because everything's changed since last year, right? So during the pandemic, people had extra money, people were feeling good, they wanted to get away, and they were willing to make reservations a little further in advance, because when they were going online, there wasn't a whole lot of inventory that was still left. So if they wanted to get their reservation in, they had to move quickly, right? Which put pressure on them to make their reservations sooner. Well, there's plenty of supply out there in a lot of markets now. We're back to something that's a little bit more of a normal cadence of reservations. And so people aren't in as much of a rush in some markets to make reservations, which means the booking window, the window in which we normally would see it book, instead of it being out here, it's now moving up back to here. In a lot of ways, when we compare it to pre-pandemic, it's normal. It's a normal booking window, but it feels different because what we're used to last year and the year before was that people were booking further in advance. I had more revenue on the books the same time last year for 4 or 5 months from now, and I just need to get a handle on how my booking window has changed. So maybe you look back at last month. Well, what was the booking window for last month, and how did it change from the year prior? Oh, people are booking more within the 30-day prior to arrival than the 60 days prior to arrival. And that was the same maybe for December and November and October. Okay, all right. So now I know that for each of those months, the booking window moved from here to here. So that's a trend. And I can report that to my owners that, look, I have pulled the booking window report for the past 4 months individually, and I can tell you that there's been a slide from last year to this year, and it's about a 30-day difference. So we're still getting reservations, just most of the reservations are waiting a little bit, and to make complete their transactions. So that's really helpful information to have, especially when there's any sort of owner pressure coming your way or questions. And then owner reports. So somebody calls and they say, hey, or they send you an email, hey, how's my property doing? I'm feeling a little nervous in comparison to last year. What do you have there? I haven't seen a lot of reservations come through lately. What do you have on the books? Great. Let me pull a report for you and show you what your KPIs are this year versus last year by month. And so you can see how your property is performing. This can be really helpful if you're then going to lay out like a claim to, hey, and hot tub. This would be a really good time to add that, because now that there's plenty of availability out there, people have choices and they can choose the property that has the hot tub over yours. So if we want to get ahead of the reduction we're seeing in reservation volume, adding that hot tub now is probably going to be a really smart move. Or your bedspreads, they kind of need to be updated. That paint, probably needs a refresh. Banana yellow probably isn't in anymore. So whatever the case may be, owner reports can be an asset to you, so that when you're having that communication with the owner, and the owner seeing it in real life, what those revenue amounts are, that you can say, let me show you some other homes that you're competing with, and what those look like, and the things that you can do to improve your assets so that it can bring in more revenue. All right, so let's go for a drive. So I'm going to pause my screen here, and we're going to jump into the real system. All right. Okay, so this is just a test system we're going to look at. When you first enter into RevMax, this is your dashboard. It's going to land you right here. So you can say, okay, by month, how am I doing with my revenue that's on the books? And how is it doing in comparison to last year? So last year is going to be the line, this year is going to be the columns. How are my bookings? Like, where are they coming from? And what percentage am I getting from each? Is this passing the logic check for me? Or is there something maybe that I need to do? Do I need to look at my images on the websites? Do I need to do some research there? How is my revenue pace for the year? Occupancy pace for the year, my RevPAR for the year, and my average rate. How are all those KPIs coming together? And then your operational statistics are going to be down here, where it's going to show you how many paid nights you have for tonight versus last year. Am I up or am I down? Little simple arrows. So at a glance, you can see all of that information. Then you'll have these tiles up here, super easy to navigate, really intuitive. Home settings screen is going to be where you have all of your information about the inventory. Hold on just a second. Let me click there. This is going to tell you, well, what do I have turned on for each of my properties? So let's say you're in here and you're setting up some new homes. I just got three new homes. I need to set them up on dynamic pricing. I need to set them up with my gap strategy. I need to set them up on dynamic minimal nights and all of that stuff. And somebody calls or somebody needs me. I have to leave, to go handle this. And you come back and you think, where was I in this process? No worries. We've got you covered. We know you're busy. This is going to give you all of the highlights of what do I have deployed for each of my properties, little check marks there for each of them. And what is my gap logic strategy? You can set up floor rates in here where you can say, well, I want my floor rates to be a certain amount. All of that can be done in here. Then we'll go to your tape chart. The tape chart's that grid where it's going to pull up all of your rates into a chart, and then you can modify it by day. So you would say, okay, I have my property here. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. During this time frame, up at the top, it's 60% full. Okay, that feels pretty good. Maybe I want to sort some of my units here by occupancy, pull the ones up to the top that really need my attention. Okay, these are the ones that have 0% occupancy. Maybe it's a new property. Maybe it's one that, during off season, it just really struggles. But this is going to let you sort your tape chart so that you have the ones that need the attention towards the top. And then you can come in here and say, you know what, for this upcoming week, for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'm going to take my normal 3-night minimum and I'm going to change it to a 2. And I'm going to do that for some of my properties. Or maybe I say, you know what, this whole day needs to be changed. This whole Monday needs to be 2-night. So I'm going to do a change for everybody in my company to a 2-night. I'm going to apply that. Okay, and it'll tell you if there's any minimum stables that will apply there. Or you could say, I don't want it to apply to all of them. I just want to do the one house. So I'll just select that one house. Or I just want to select 3 homes to do that too. And I'll click there and I'll do my roll here. You can say, well, let me go to my summertime here. So I'm going to cruise on over to my summer. And I'll do through the end of July. Pardon me. And I have a bunch of properties that need CTs and CTDs on because they are my turn day properties. They have to have a 7-night requirement. So I'm going to put my CTs and CTDs on them for during the midweek, Sunday through Friday. I'm going to leave Saturday. I'm going to let them have the CTs and CTDs off. What that means is that somebody can arrive on a Saturday and depart on a Saturday, but they wouldn't be able to depart during the midweek. But if you get closer, you can start doing this and removing those requirements and say, I still want them to arrive on a Saturday. I'm going to keep that control in place. But now they can stay for 5 nights and depart on the Thursday or the Friday also. Super easy. You can come up to your availability rules and say, I need to set a gap logic strategy. So for all of my properties, I'm going to make them all 2 nights. So if I have a 3-night minimum, but a 2-night stay opens up in between them, it's going to automatically open up that 2-night stay for sale. Oops, except for this one right here. This one has to be 3. And that owner won't take any less than 4. So we're just going to make them 4 and 3. So you can customize them depending upon each individual property and what the owner's tolerance is for nightly minimums. We've got you covered. And then well, I don't want to have to watch it 24 hours a day, but if we get within a certain amount of days out, I want the minimums to automatically change. So in this rule right here, we've set up for 3 nights. So the minimum on the tape chart is 3 nights. That's your normal nightly minimum. But I want it to move to 2 nights when I get within 14 days of arrival. But I only want that to happen during these dates here, February through April. And I only want it to apply to these 4 properties because I know they're really flexible and they'll take a 2-night stay happily. During the summertime, you could say, well, from June 3rd through August 12th, I want to change all of my 7-night minimums to 5 nights when I get 21 days prior to arrival. But I know I only have a couple of owners that would allow me to do that. So I'm only going to select those particular owners that would allow that strategy. Then those same owners, because I know they're super flexible and they're investors and they just want to get the reservation, I'm going to program another one over the exact same date range with the exact same properties that says when I get within within 14 days prior to arrival. So now you've made a change from 7 nights of 7-night minimum to a 5-night minimum. Now you're going to change to 3 nights, 14 days prior to arrival. So now instead of relying on having to get a last-minute stay that's willing to stay for a whole week, you could get 2 stays that are willing to take that week split up into 2 different reservations. So that allows the owner the opportunity to still capture most of that revenue, but they're going to do it with 2 shorter stays instead of having to do it with a longer stay. Okay, so that is your tape chart. Your pricing methods are over here. Your Max Shield, which allows you to set up strategies for your properties where you control the parameters. When I get within 30 days of arrival, if my inventory isn't yet 30% full, I want my rates to automatically adjust down by 5%. And you can assign just a portion of your properties to this, maybe, a handful of properties that you think that this is what you would want them to do. You can also create a separate map that looks just like this, except maybe that one is going to be a little bit more aggressive, right? It's going to start discounting sooner. Maybe it's your larger properties and they need the discounting to happen sooner because their bookings typically happen further in advance. So any way that you would want to customize that, you can. Your competitive set pricing is right here. So if you want to select just a small group of competing properties out there in the market and tie your properties to it, you can do that. And then say, well, maybe during low season, I'm just going to ride 5-10% below them at all times. You can do that. Your market-based pricing is over here. This is going to be where you say, I'm going to let them follow the general marketplace. If the property is similar to mine, I don't need to hand select them, that's fine. Your reporting is over here, where you can see you have your regular reports, you have premium reports, advanced reports, all that are in there available for you. This is where you would see revenue pacing. What does that look like? This is telling you how much money do I have in each month. I just want to know how much I have in each month. And I want to know how much money do each of my properties have? And how does that differ from last year. Problem properties are in red. Properties that are doing good are in green. And I can see my graphs. Okay. How do I see my sales? Here you go. This is how much I booked. Your filters can let you know, well, where do I want my start and end dates to be? Maybe I just want it to be the past week. So it's going to default to the past week. It's going to compare to what you booked during the same week last year. It's going to give you those numbers. This amount versus this amount. This is the difference. And these are the properties that got the bookings this year and the properties that didn't get the bookings. So you can see what the difference was. All right, so those are your reports. And rental calculator would be over here. You put in your address of the property that you're wanting to search for, and then it's going to give you an average annual revenue, average ADR. It's going to tell you occupancy and average revenue by month. I'd have to put in an address in here for a property in order to be able to see those metrics. But it'll also list the individual units too when you run one that it's comparing to. So then you can click on that Airbnb link or that Vrbo link and think, and see, is this really a property I'd want to compare this prospective property to? Okay. And then your RevMax Learning. We have a learning site called RevMax Learning, and we'll talk about that next. So I'm going to go back to my presentation. And let's talk about some of the things you get along with RevMax. So with your subscription to RevMax, you also get the free subscription to LSI Market Insights. What is the difference? Okay, so RevMax is going to provide you with intelligence based on your own performance. LSI allows us to reach out there into the market and to gauge your company's performance in comparison to the market performance. And there are all kinds of drill down options where you can see how you're doing. So some of that looks like this. You can see your performance in comparison to your market in occupancy. How is my paid occupancy doing with everybody else's? Am I doing about the same? Am I doing a little worse? Am I doing a little bit better, right? This is important information because if an owner's coming to you saying, well, why should I go with you versus somebody else? Well, let me tell you, right here, we sell more inventory than the competitors do in the marketplace. So you're gaining more of that share of what's coming in as far as guests than other people are. Well, how are you doing that? Well, let me tell you how I'm doing that. I'm using revenue management software. This allows me to automatically make adjustments 24 hours a day whenever those adjustments are necessary in order for my inventory to have the greatest probability of being sold. It's going to give you metrics on ADR, on RevPAR. We talked about the importance of that KPI, the most important KPI, and performance by length of stay. So this is something that's really important in a lot of markets. How am I doing on stays that are less than 7 nights? How am I doing on stays that are a week long, that are 7 nights long? And how am I doing on capturing long-term stays? If you're in a beach market, you might do snowbirds. Well, what percentage does everybody else have of those snowbirds, and what percentage do I have? If I have 7-night requirements during the summertime, am I capturing, is the competition being a little more flexible with their nightly requirements, and are they capturing a higher percentage of guests that are staying on shorter stays at higher average rates? Maybe there's some flexibility that's needed in the way that I'm selling a portion of my inventory. So these are all really useful metrics in order to help inform us so that we can make the best decisions for the owners and for the companies, for the company. Okay, so what is the onboarding process with RevMax? You can sign up for RevMax by emailing, and that should say VRM And I must have been in the middle of typing that. It'll be here in just a second at the end too. So hold on there. The email address is vrmsupport@getrevmax.com. But after you sign up, you'll receive a welcome email, and the welcome email will just let you know, like, these are your next steps. You're going to receive logins to RevMax Learning. And what RevMax Learning is going to do is it's going to take you to a learning site. And the learning site will have individual videos that will train you on how to use the system. We have a whole series called Self-Service Onboarding, where they're tiny, short little videos where they'll say, it's like, where do I start? Well, you're going to start here. How do I even read this dashboard? What does that KPI mean? What is ADR? What is RevPAW? Why should I be looking at this? It's going to give you those little bits of information in a minute, 30-second videos, and it's going to take you through each one of those things nice and slow. So you can at any time take a break, step away from the content, and then come back. And then as you add more items into your revenue management strategy, like gap logic or dynamic minimal nights, or if you want to know more about dynamic pricing options, you can take those courses one at a time, and then it will walk you through how to implement that in your system. If you're somebody who would rather have checklists, we've got you covered there too. Step-by-step guides, you can just download the guide, print it, set it on your desk, and then you have a little check. You can just check off each step as you go through it. So whatever way you like to learn, we have that available for you. Okay. So what do I do if I want to do revenue management, but I need more support? So we have free training through the learning management system. And in the future, we'll do more of these if Andrea will have me back. we'll do more of these webinars for the users of beginners, and then maybe more advanced, so that you can get an idea of how to use these tools and ask me questions in real life. There's always somebody available to you through our support desk. The support desk is accessible through VRM support at getrevmax.com, right down here at the bottom, VRM support at getrevmax.com. Okay. If you would like information or a demo on the system, or you have questions, also put in an email at vrmsupport at getrevmax.com. That's going to come directly to us right away. There's somebody there, manning and womaning it, the help desk right now, waiting for your email, and we'll point you in the direction of who the best person is in order to get you the information that you need. So you have the training that's free through the learning system. We'll do some webinars. And then if you need extra help, so let's say you get into the system and you're loving it, you do the free training, the videos, the self-service onboarding, all of that, and you think, there's so much I'd like to do, but I would rather have somebody kind of work with me on this. What are my options for having somebody work with me on this? Well, you have two options. You have, we have a team of revenue managers on staff. So you can have what's called just a monthly maintenance meeting. And it's super, super popular. I have a ton of people that do that. And it's somebody who just says, I just need somebody to meet with me once a month to make sure I don't have any blind spots. Am I doing all the things that I should be doing? Am I looking at the data correctly? Just to help kind of cover me there with revenue management insights once a month. And I can make those changes in my system, and then we're good. And then we'll meet every single month. That's called just monthly revenue management consulting or revenue management support. We have that available to you. It is a paid service. Or then we have weekly revenue management support. And that is somebody, we call it more like a full service support, where you get a revenue manager assigned to you. And that person is going to meet with you every single week, and they're going to help you through the revenue management processes on a weekly basis. So the onboarding process would take some insights from you. You would have to be involved in that onboarding process. But after that onboarding process, you can hand over the functions of creating the strategies, reading the reports, and delivering you the highlights of what is going on with your system to you every single week. So that is your weekly revenue management support. Whatever support looks like for you, we have you covered. If it's just, I'm great with self-learning, that's great. If you need support for a time, we have that, limited or more full. VRMsupport at getrevmax.com is the email to get all the information you would need. Okay, so You can, again, VRM support at getrevmax.com to speak with a RevMax support specialist. That's also going to be the help desk. So if at any point during onboarding you have any questions, somebody is going to be there to help you. We also encourage you to visit us on LinkedIn. RevMax is on LinkedIn, and we post any sort of updates, announcements for new tools that we might be doing, attendance at conferences. If you're attending a conference, we'd love to meet with you there. We'd love to show you the system. We have some people attending the VRM Spring Forum in Kansas City in just a couple of weeks. So if you're planning on going to Spring Forum, stop by and see us. I will be there, and we're happy to talk to you and show you all of the tools that we've got here. One of the main questions that we get is, so what does this all cost, right? This is an important question. Well, we have many different packages available, and they can be customized to whatever your needs are. So when you put in a ticket, when you send in an email to that VRM support at getrevmax.com, just put your questions in there. Like, hey, these are the things that I thought were interesting on the webinar today, and I think that these would be useful for my company. How much would a package with these things included cost? And so we can take a look at maybe if a basic subscription or full subscription, or a full subscription with a monthly meeting with a RevMax consultant would be right for you, or maybe the full support. Like, what am I really looking to do here? Well, I'm looking to grow really rapidly. Okay, well, maybe the full service support is the right move for you. So whatever that looks like for you, we can design it. We can design the package and let you know what that cost would be. So with that, that's it.
Yeah, so we have some people dropping off, but before others drop off, with that common question, I'd like to just put it out there. If anybody has any questions that they want to ask right now, while we have Maureen on the line, you guys can put your questions in the chat and I'll read them out for her. Also, if anybody is just super anxious to schedule a demo that's specific to your business, if you want to just raise your hand or put in the chat, hey, Andrea, can you reach out and schedule that with me? We can do that also. All right, who's raising their hand? Heather. All right, Heather, I will reach out to you directly and we will get that scheduled. Or if you have any questions, you can just type them directly in the chat. Or let me I can allow you to talk. Here we go. Let's see.
Hi, this is Heather. I just want to schedule a company specific demo and talk about implementation.
Awesome. Perfect.
Absolutely.
I will reach out, Heather, shortly after the call. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Well, if you guys want to follow up with me directly after, or you can reach out to the email that Maureen shared on the demo as well. And I just want to let everybody know that I appreciate you guys for attending every single month. We have a lot of really great stuff coming up in the future months. So please keep registering and showing up. We really appreciate all of you guys and all of your partnership, and we will see you next month. Thank you, Maureen. I appreciate you.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.